Hey guys, it's Audrey. Yes, we're in a new office, new backdrop, new location. We're in Boise, Idaho now, and I'm freaking loving it. This is the first video I've gotten to record officially in Boise, and I'm just, oh my god, I'm so happy we're here. My amazing husband Justin, aka my producer, DP, number one fan of all things, helped me get this set up, and it looks super nice. I cannot believe how nice this looks now, thinking back to when I first started YouTube on a really shitty little webcam that sat on the top of my monitor right there. So yeah, this is just awesome. So the reason we are here today, February 1st, 2024 marks my 3 years of freelancing. There's a lot to unpack here. So this video is essentially kind of what I've typically done in the past 2 years with freelancing, where I've usually done some kind of like motion graphic, infographic kind of thing, with some stats associated with my year in review as a freelancer for that year. And this past year and a half, I've been a permalancer with one single client, so there wasn't a ton of new information. And so for this 3-year anniversary kind of thing, I thought it'd be fun to just kind of talk about how I even got here and how I've done 3 years of freelancing. It feels longer than that, but not at the same time. How much I feel like I've accomplished and all the things that I've gotten to do. And also recapping my top 5 favorite projects in my 3 years of freelancing. Also, apologies in advance if I'm like looking all over the freaking place. I'm still getting used to this setup. So I'm like looking at myself and also like my notes and my lights and my camera. So forgive me for like being all over the place. So I'll just start from the very beginning of when I first decided I wanted to do freelancing and how I kind of prepared myself to take that big leap or jump that people call it. So as Sophia Petrillo says in The Golden Girls, picture it, March 2020. The most infamous year that we know. March 2020, I remember was the month that I remember was planning to take the leap. And that is also when COVID happened, and that whole thing kind of disrupted the world for a while. And so I remember at that time I was at a company, it was like a healthcare tech company. The way that I got into that was not really by my own means necessarily. It was kind of one of those, I had an internship at a animation production studio and needed a real job. And I think at that time, a good paying salary out of college sounded really nice. I knew someone that kind of vouched for me and roped me into the job. And I worked there for about 2 years, I think. And I was just ready to experience independence and just to kind of try out so many different things. And I just really wanted that experience of what it was like to really own what I was doing and to get to talk to people every single day, meet new people, try out different just kinds of work and see what different industries were like to work within, but still didn't really have that permanent tie, very non-committal. Yeah, so I think that next year, and while COVID was at its peak, I really just hunkered down and just tried to learn as much as I could about the business side of freelancing, what it really means to wear all these different kind of hats. Like they say that really when you're doing your craft, that is like 20% of the job. Most of the job is actually talking to people, business development, making more connections, making yourself known out there in the space that you do X kind of work. So a lot of admin work. It's no joke, but it's the kind of stuff that really pays off in the end and is super important. So to be able to have the skills, the motivation to do that kind of stuff, and just kind of the know-how and perseverance of just getting that stuff done and keeping that stuff updated and making yourself just a known figure out there that, hey, I'm available for doing this kind of work, hire me please, and setting your rates and all that kind of stuff, and the financial side obviously. So I dove into different kind of workbooks. I know there was a good couple of workshops, one of which I highly recommend is the Chutzpah Freelance and Business and Stuff. It's like FABUS, I think is like the acronym. They have a great Slack channel I've been a part of ever since I got their workbook, and you get to meet so many great creatives and just talk shop. They're kind of like what your coworkers in a real studio setting would be like, and getting to like just chat and hang out. But getting to have that community even when you're kind of siloed in your freelancing ways, you know. So that has been an amazing resource from the very jump, and having that and all those people to connect with and talk about freelancing and problems we come across, and kind of how to jump certain hurdles and everything as business owners. And then a big thing too, just learning like the legal side of things. I created an LLC before I went freelancing, just so I kind of had an entity that I had everything under. So if for whatever reason legally something were to hit me, it wouldn't hit me personally, it would hit my LLC, my business. And just keeping, you know, financial things separately, and having an EIN versus my social security number, so taxes and stuff like that, being able to write off stuff easily, all those things just to keep it nice and clean and tidy. Another thing I did, I had a lot of coffee chats. When COVID kind of settled down a bit to where you could at least go to a coffee shop, or you could kind of talk to people, and it wasn't frowned upon to talk to people in public. I tried to meet up with as many people in the local area, at that time was Columbus, Ohio, as possible, and just pick their brain, you know, freelancers or art directors or whoever that used to freelance or are going freelance, and just what their experience was like, and just kind of things to keep an eye out for or keep in mind down the road. It was also just a great way to have someone kind of in my rally, you know, in my corner, kind of rooting for me once I officially went freelance and kind of made that public, so that hopefully they could kind of toss that word along too. So again, network. I will always harp that network is such a huge, important thing when it comes to freelancing, and it definitely has served me well over time. So if you're freelancing or looking to do that, keep that in mind. But I think above all, I think the biggest thing with freelancing, whether you're first starting out or you've been doing it for X amount of years, I think the biggest thing is making it known to people that you are freelancing, that you are able to do X kind of work, and showing your work. I think showing people what you do and what you're capable of is so important, and being able to talk about it, even if it's process work. I think process work isn't shown enough, honestly, and I think it's the most fascinating stuff, because you get to see how people think, and also like what even the ugliest phase of something looks like, and how beautiful that can also be too, and what that could look like working with another team or company or client. So all that to say, with kind of getting started into about to take the leap for freelancing, I know not everyone gets to have the luxury of buying courses or workshops, or getting to meet and greet a ton of people at their leisure and everything like that. So I definitely don't want to take for granted, you know, the resources that I did have and just the ease of access to things, even despite COVID being a thing at that time. But that's also to say that if you really want to go freelance and you want to do whatever you want to do, LinkedIn, I think, is a great resource for kind of getting in touch with creatives that you may not know, but are doing the kind of work that you're looking after, or are freelancing and have a really good grasp on the business or financial side. Send them a message or an email. Try to pick whoever's brain as much as possible, and take workshops free or paid if you're able to. All those kind of things. There's a lot of great stuff out there, especially nowadays, to harness all of that good stuff. So I'll quickly talk about what my first year of freelancing was kind of about in a TLDR kind of way. I think similar to most freelancers when they first start out, I took any project I could. It was one of those, I don't remember doing a ton of like cold emails or anything like that. I think I just tried to make myself super visible, and just making my website super clear and just nicer, updating some like visual branding stuff, you know, that was kind of initiated from like college days, you know, just more like front facing kind of materials, you know. So I focused a lot on that, and luckily I think after the first initial post I made of like, hey, I'm going freelancing, hope to work with literally whoever, I think after that I did get a good amount of messages to start with, of like projects and inquiries and stuff like that. So I remembered like I started out like having work pretty promptly, like that month that I started, which was February. But I took on whatever project came my way. I didn't really consider like the industry or anything. It was just more of like, hey, I'm able to do this. Graphic design, illustration, mostly at that time. I think motion graphics didn't really come till later because I was still self-teaching myself motion graphics and I didn't really have a voice yet in that realm, so I didn't want to advertise that yet of like, hey, I can do this even though I can't. so I waited on that. But yeah, there were some industries that I did work for, like tech and apparel, and I think there was a little bit of like food, beverage related stuff in there that I didn't really have any connection to personally, that I don't know, I didn't really care for lack of better words. I did the project to the best of my ability and everything got wrapped and done at the end of the day, but it was just like I was just more of a means to getting the stuff done, but didn't feel proud enough to post any of that anywhere. And still haven't to this day. The first year of my freelance work, I don't think I have anywhere, honestly. And so that was kind of another thing too, is like I knew the first year was just going to be like getting my feet wet and just soaking in as much as I could of like what a day-to-day looks like for my specific experience in my case. But yeah, the projects, I was just like, whatever, man, whatever can bring home the money. And that was another thing that I talked about with people too before going freelance, was kind of gut checking my rate and like starting out and like, does this seem fair? Is this kind of a competitive rate? And especially for the Midwest at that time, it was good for what it was. And I know at that time I was a very skilled designer, and definitely even more so now. I have gained so much experience and so much more value, so I'm able to put that into my future rate as well. But yeah, my first year I was just kind of like going with the flow. I was happy just making money in general, even if it wasn't as much as it could have been. I knew eventually I would get to raise my rate with as much experience and whatever that I could acquire over time. But it brought home money, and I ended up making a little bit more than my year's salary at my previous job, which paid very well. So I was just impressed by that with myself, that I was able to at least do what I did the year before, but on my own. So I was like, I'll take it, whatever. I can do better next year, but this was not a fluke. So so just knowing that I could do freelancing on my own and everything, that was a win for me, and I took it. Now the second year was by far so much better. Not just from a financial standpoint, which I think I ended up doubling what I made the first year, which is always a great goal to have. But in terms of clients, I cut those in half. Having more qualitative clients and qualitative projects that fed more to my skill set and experience, and obviously being able to add up to the portfolio, worth so much more than having more quantitative clients and projects. So I think the first year I had 24 clients. I don't even know how that happened mathematically. And then second year was 12. And yeah, with the second year, I was much more selective about the projects that I took on. And obviously, I know that is a luxury as well, being able to be more selective about saying yes or no to certain projects, where not everyone gets to do that. But I was in a good position to be able to do that. And yeah, the second year I had more work that I wanted to share in my portfolio. I think 1 or 2 projects from the second year ended up making into my top 5 list that I'll get to. And then yeah, a big highlight of year 2 was starting YouTube, which I would argue has massively, I don't even know if changed is the right word, but improved or just exponentially increased the entire freelancing experience, I feel like. I started YouTube, funny enough, my husband kind of roped me into it. He's the one behind all of the gear and getting me set up. I'm literally using his camera right now. He basically gave it to me because he got a better one. So I jokingly call him my like DP producer and like number 1 fan because he's all of those things. But he literally keeps this train rolling, which is amazing, and I'm so grateful for him. Testing. Colin Robinson. Yeah, I think it looks really nice. What do you think?
Look at the
I'm sorry. The camera,
Look where you would be normally looking. I'm telling you, there's something casting on this side. Right here. There's a shadow being cast right next to
I
your
think
nose.
that's just my big nose. I think
No.
that's my schnauzer. I really do think it's my nose.
It's just weird because there's no light over here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So what's causing the light to come this way?
Well, no, it's opposite. It's from that way.
Oh, yeah, I guess it is that. Scooting your light to try to be more here-ish a little more, because this is going to feel you no matter what. And at night, if you ever record at night, you don't want to make the audience always believe you've got this huge window here always open and it's providing all your light. Mm-hmm. Know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah. I bet I could rotate that to be...
Mm-hmm. You don't have to do it now. I think this light looks
Yeah,
nice.
I do too.
And I think something else is just like, I think it's because, another reason. Let's see what's happening. Looks nice. I like the backdrop.
I do too.
Looks really good.
Looks good.
Sweet.
Cool.
Nice.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah, of course. Looks good.
Yeah. But yeah, I started YouTube, and I think when I first started out, I just didn't really know like what I wanted to do with it exactly. I think for me and those who know me and my personality, there's just always so much going on up here. Like, not to make myself sound like a psychopath, but like there's just so much going on up here creatively, and like there's so many things I could talk about for hours in the creative realm, and like design and just art in general. I just love it so much. It's truly like who I'm meant to be, you know? And so getting to then just translate that and throw that into a platform and be able to talk about it, my experiences with stuff, thinking about when I was a student in art school, what kind of stuff I wish I would have had more exposure to, or just like heard someone talk about a bit more, just because I know myself too, and I was just so antsy in college to get to learn more things that, and I feel like I could have harnessed a lot more specific things of like industry and whatever that I wanted to learn more about. So yeah, anyway, I just thought YouTube would be a great platform to just kind of throw whatever knowledge I might have, and hopefully it's helpful to someone. And I think also just using it as a platform to just keep making stuff. I think that is just one of my biggest things as a person is making things, and especially if it can help someone or motivate someone to do whatever they want with their creative career, that means even more. I know there's a lot of YouTubers back when I was like in middle school and high school that I watched that motivated me to help learn anatomy and just to learn more about these things that I was interested in but didn't know a lot about. So I hope I can kind of be that for someone out there. I don't know. And so yeah, I just kind of did YouTube videos whenever I had time, among freelance work. So kind of getting in the rhythm of like, what is my personal process with YouTube? And I am still trying to fucking figure this out. This is not a clean process whatsoever. And it's just definitely something that over time I feel like I've learned with how I do things and what I need to make a successful video, and at least in my eyes. So I'm still learning with this stuff too, but man, it's just so fun. Yeah, it's just fun. I have no other words to describe it. And I will say too, like benefits that have come from YouTube, I've linked my store in almost every video I've ever posted, and I try to make templates every now and then and like useful resources and whatever, and have that linked through like my store and the videos and everything. And so what that has done for my website and store orders and stuff has exponentially grown over time as well, and just getting more exposure, and even in that way, so that kind of leads people to seeing more of my work and just about me and, you know, whatever kind of stuff. So yeah, that's been super fun. And then yeah, just like overall social media stuff, whatever. But yeah, YouTube has just been great for kind of finding my voice both literally and creatively. And just having an excuse to make some really fun projects that are stuff that you don't see very often, hopefully. I know some stuff's kind of run-of-the-mill, you know, Photoshop tutorials and whatever, but I care a lot about the process of things and just kind of what starting from scratch really looks like, and what kind of steps and what kind of things you need to think about and question yourself before getting to a finished product that everyone knows and loves. So that's something, you know, every year I'm gonna keep trying to make more things and more videos that are custom tailored towards starting from the very beginning. You know, write yourself a creative brief, It can be really down and dirty, doesn't have to be anything fancy, to conceptualizing and kind of art directing your own stuff and whatever, or what it looks like to collaborate with other people and different roles and stuff like that. I'm rambling now, but that's that's just more YouTube-y stuff that I just want to strive to keep doing. So yeah. And in terms of YouTube and just a little more on the statistical side of things, just for some like clarity and just to see some of the growth, since starting YouTube, I think February of 2022, yes. So since then, I've gotten about 2,100, so about 2,100 store orders, which I don't know if that's a lot over the course of 2 years. It feels like a lot. A lot of those are obviously like a lot of the free templates and stuff and resources I have on the store, but some of them weren't. I don't know how much money I made from the store or anything. I know I should be keeping more track of that, but I haven't really looked at it lately. Because again, that's just more passive, like it's there in the background and I'll deal with it for tax season. So yeah, about 2,100 store orders, which is just awesome. So hopefully all those resources you guys have downloaded have helped in some way, shape, or form. And then about 5,200, so about 5,200 website visits, which is pretty crazy, I think. I think that's a lot for me just being one person. And again, I think a lot of that came from YouTube. I think between YouTube and LinkedIn, I think that is where the bulk of that have come from. I haven't really checked like the origin of those very much, but since starting YouTube, I think a lot of that has to do with YouTube. And then in terms of subscribers, just in this last year, so not both years of having YouTube, but just in this last year, so February 24th of 2023 to now, February 24th, 2024, I've gained 6,514 subscribers, which is literally about 2/3 of my total sub count right now. Which is just awesome. I think just over time, I think I've just learned a good rhythm to the type of videos that I've been making and the kinds that I want to be making. And as of just last year, I've actually started collaborating with School of Motion a little bit. There's 2 videos on their channel that I've gotten to collaborate with them on. And I think one of them is at like 50,000 views or something. I don't know, that's pretty crazy though. But yeah, I think that has been a super helpful thing. By no means is that not helpful to have a great channel like School of Motion and having my face on their channel. Thank you guys. So yeah, I think that has a good thing to do with that sub count as well, and just driving traffic from different areas over. So yeah, thanks to anyone who's ever said my name ever and pointing them my direction. Super appreciate it. But yeah, in terms of YouTube, man, every year I just want to keep doing better stuff, more higher quality things. I mean, this is like, I could not have pictured a cooler backdrop and office and set when I first started. So this is already a huge upgrade, and just getting a nice camera and getting that little depth of field and the lighting, like I'm floored to be where I'm at right now with like production value for my own videos. Yeah, I just want to keep doing bigger, better. As always, if you guys have any suggestions for future videos and stuff you want to see, I'm all ears. And then as far as year three, man, year 3 was just fucking amazing. So I would say in the middle of year 2 into year 3, I've literally been working with Riot Games. Again, I am still shell-shocked I get to say that. To say it's been a dream of mine to work for anything in the entertainment realm, let alone a gaming company, which has always been my absolute dream, let alone Riot Games, which I would argue is one of the best ever. Yeah, it's just amazing. I've been working with them for like 18 to 20 months now, so over a year and a half, and I've been working on the marketing team and publishing for Teamfight Tactics. Tactics. And yeah, it's kind of funny that the contract that I've had with them has been more of like a permalancer kind of situation where I get to be a part of the team. I'm just kind of part of the day-to-day stuff, getting to be a part of all the meetings and getting to know everyone on the team. It's just been super awesome. It's just so crazy, like being a freelancer, but having a team of like co-workers and stuff where you're not really a freelancer. It's just super funny. But man, I've just learned so much from them, and just so much from the work itself too, and the feeling of like getting to have a fingerprint on these kind of campaigns and stuff has just been so rewarding. And yeah, just super grateful to get to have the experience. And I know I've learned so much. And just the way to think about certain things with other projects completely unrelated to, and just getting to work with the absolute most talented and kindest people ever. I was shell-shocked, honestly, when I first started. I was just like, my God, everyone is so nice. And like, there is room to make mistakes, and like, everything has like a no worries kind of feeling to it, you know? Like everyone is so on top of their game, no pun intended, and everyone is just so willing to help each other out and just be like a resource to everyone. So I could go on and on about Teamfight Tactics team in the game and just Riot in general, but man, it's just so freaking cool to be a part of that world. And so yeah, with that, year 3 was the most consistent in terms of work, getting paid. Yeah, there just wasn't a ton of the like typical freelancing day-to-day stuff like making pitches and sending out quotes and stuff like that, retainers, you know, stuff like that. It was pretty just cut and dry, pretty clear of like getting paid on a regular basis. So that has been super nice, allowed for just a lot of like relief and not having to like worry too much about the biz dev and the typical like hustle and grind of like getting new clients and making a reel and all that stuff. So I appreciate it from that point of like getting to relax a little bit. And then like on the side, I was able to focus a bit more on YouTube as well, of like having that kind of clear-cut schedule, could kind of plan other things around that as well, for like YouTube and just other personal projects. But yeah, this especially this past year with how crazy it was too, where me and Justin, we were on 3 to 4 different time zones last year and like working among all of that. Absolutely insane. So the main office that I work for with Riot is LA. And so living in Phoenix, Arizona, we were Mountain Standard Time, or we were either Mountain Standard or Pacific. Like it switched because Phoenix, for whatever reason, our time zones swapped like every year, like twice a year. And then living on the East Coast with our parents, East Coast time, so those were weird hours. My manager and the team were extremely generous in kind of letting me adjust my hours a little bit for that little sprint of East Coast time, so I wasn't working a 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. schedule and literally on a meeting eating dinner. So I was super thankful for that. And then yeah, with like the honeymoon, we were literally in Europe for 2 months. The first month we didn't do anything, we didn't do any work, and then the second month I worked remotely in Europe. So that was really weird, but it was kind of nice though, where like I think I had kind of pitched to them like a certain set of hours where I would do like maybe 4 in the morning my time where everyone would be sleeping, or so I kind of had some like heads down time and I know no one would bother me, could get a lot of stuff done. And then I think like 8 p.m. to midnight I would work and like hop back on where everyone was like just starting their day, so I could, you know, put stuff up for review or do whatever crucial meetings needed to happen. So it was a month, but it was definitely weird. But again, super thankful that they were willing to like roll with the punches on that and be super accommodating. So yeah, that was last year was just weird in terms of time zones, but yeah, it was still awesome. So now getting into the top 5 projects of my freelance career. Starting with number 5 was the Graduate Hotels Coffee Table book. I think they partnered with Rizzoli Books to get this printed. And the agency that I worked for this was Chandelier Creative, I believe. And this was an illustration project. It was essentially illustrating a full like book spread map in this really cool vintage style. I was so fucking pumped to get to do this because I love this kind of style. Never have a reason to do this, and you don't see many projects that ask for this kind of style. And it was essentially just a map that had different kind of icons that symbolized all of their various graduate hotel locations. And the icons were kind of just symbolic of like, you know, the colleges that were there, and like the area and everything, or like pop culture kind of things. Super cool, great idea. And yeah, the way that I got the job was actually through LinkedIn. Shout out LinkedIn again for coming in clutch with another job. Miracles do exist on LinkedIn. Yeah, I think one of the producers on the project or with Chandelier reached out to me and just kind of, I think they kind of said like they were looking for an illustrator for a project, and then we kind of went through email and just kind of talked about rates and the project scope and just kind of what it was. And yeah, from there it was pretty simple. They gave me all of like the specs of like, you know, size, dimensions, DPI, because obviously it's gonna be printed for a massive book. And just, I think they were going to eventually use some stuff for like social media, website, whatever. And then they kind of gave me all the assets and just like information, I guess, for all of the icons that needed to be made, references, like if there were people or certain like architectural references for like the colleges themselves, stuff like that. And then, yeah, I just did everything in Procreate and used basically one brush. One brush was kind of my my go-to for the style and just like this vintage, grainy, airbrushed kind of look. And then, yeah, assembled everything in Photoshop. So I created each asset very high res, assembled everything in Photoshop, did some color correction on some things, went back and forth with the team just to, you know, confirm that everything was like looking right, and then built out this border that I illustrated each of their locations, so it all was like a cohesive style. And they sent references of like kind of how they saw that looking as well. And so yeah, we just kind of jammed on that back and forth. It was super easy. Just it took a while just to get confirmation on like green lighting the references and making sure everything looked right. And then yeah, I sent them the files. I think there was also a licensing thing too that or I quoted extra for licensing the illustration so that graduate could use it kind of however they wanted. So it wasn't just the illustration like fee, it was also the licensing of it too. So that's another thing that like I've never come across that before in my time at freelancing, because that's a whole other beast that I don't know a ton about. But it was a cool experience to get to like learn a little bit about that. But yeah, so this is my top 5 because it was just a really fun project. It came out beautifully. Getting to draw in this vintage style that I've never really had an excuse to other than for like personal projects. And getting to do a print piece, I think I've noticed just more and more, I'm more in the digital realm where I don't get to do a lot of stuff for print. So I thought this was, and I love coffee table books also. I think they're just so cool. So yeah, I just thought it was a super fun project. The project was easy in terms of like communication and working with the team. It was pretty straightforward, and I would consider it a portfolio piece as well. I don't have it in my portfolio yet because I'm bad at procrastinating, and also the daunting fear, I guess not even a fear, the daunting just like looming dark wave of like creating a really nice project, and just the amount of time that it takes, because I know how much time it can take, just that self-pressure of making it look really nice, and so it just makes me not even start. So I need to get that on my website. But yeah, it's definitely a portfolio piece, and yeah, it was just fun. I loved it. Coming in at number 4 of my top 5 projects was the Adobe Max illustration project. So this one was super cool. I think more so than anything, just to get to say I got to work with Adobe a little bit was just kind of mind-boggling for me. So I don't know if they do this every year, but I think most years I've seen for Adobe Max that they collaborate with other artists, and just kind of showcasing their programs and just, different artists from all around the world. I think it was still a remote kind of conference, like with COVID and everything. So everything was online. All of the speakers, all the meat and potatoes of Adobe Max was online, and so they leaned on the community and just other artists, I think, for this campaign and everything, which makes sense. And it was super cool to see various artists get to participate in this as well. But I'm pretty sure the way that I saw this was on a Twitter post. And I am not a huge Twitter/X person. I am barely on there. So even though I'm like, follow me on Instagram and Twitter, I am barely there. I'm sorry. I ghosted you and left you hanging on Twitter/X. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw it on a Twitter post. I think it was like a hey, fill out this form if you want to be considered for Adobe Max this upcoming year. And then I think it was just a whole form of like, who you are, where you're from, what you specialize in. I think for me it was illustration and graphic design. I don't really remember I think like social handles, like how to contact you and everything. And I think it was just kind of like a waiting game after that, to see if you were chosen or not to be a part of like the Adobe Max like gallery artist thing. And I got the email that I'd get to be a part of it. And then I think from there I was kind of put in contact with like my own personal point of contact. I don't know if they were like the illustration and design person for kind of keeping track of like our work that we were submitting and stuff. But I think we all submitted 3 illustrations. At least they asked me to do 3, and I think we had to send them sketches just to approve of like the content. And I think I just kind of went a very different route for each. I kind of did a more fun like retro space themed kind of one, and then I did a cool grungier matchbook kind of thing. And then I think the third one was definitely more honed into Adobe, like the product side of things and like the tools and like, how an artist interacts with the tools and everything. They didn't tell me to do that. I just wanted to. And then I think the only restriction was to use Adobe's color palette that they gave us. It was just a selection of like 5 to 7 colors, and we had to have like the certain like text block at the bottom with our name in certain font and everything. But everything else was pretty free reign. And yeah, it was just super fun. I just cranked them out and sent them for approval. They had to give us the size and specs and everything. And then I think just over the course of their campaign, they posted them on their website, posted them on their socials and stuff like that, and tagged all the artists. So yeah, it was super cool to be a part of that, and just to say that like I got to do something with Adobe and be a part of that creative conference and everything. So yeah, it's in my top 5. I think like for a lot of freelancers, brand recognition, that being like one of the big like logo bugs I get to put on my website was kind of an ego stroke for me, just because I really wanted to break through the threshold of like not just working with smaller projects and stuff like that, like stuff that was kind of just touch and go, but a little more heavier weighted campaign related stuff, and it was something that was kind of seen across a wide scale audience, literally Adobe users. So yeah, it was just a really cool another illustration project. It was just kind of a one-off thing, and just getting to kind of have free reign on that was just super fun. And another portfolio piece. Can't get better than that. Number three, my lord. Shrek reference. Sorry. Number 3 is one of the coolest projects I feel like I wasn't worthy to be a part of, or to be asked to tackle, but was so grateful that they let me be a part of this, and what they were doing for their internal stuff. So Cream Studio was the studio that reached out to me to help animate one of their website banners. So if you go to their website, they have a different banner for most, if not all, of their pages, and it's kind of a way to indicate their different like capabilities and skill sets. If I were to guess, I'm pretty sure that's what the TLDR of it was, in like different styles and everything. And so the one that I got to be a part of, while they provided all of the creative direction and got to work with them on the production side of things, I just got to illustrate, sketch and animate frame by frame, which, not gonna lie, was my first official frame by frame freelance project. Wow, it's a lot of F words. And so it was incredibly daunting for me, where I have done a good amount of frame by frame stuff in my lifetime. And with animation, I've just always loved it. I know it's a beast to learn and it takes a lot of time, but I don't think I had enough experience at that point to do commercial grade, like professional frame by frame. More so from like the specs and like technical side of things and just timing. Like I think at that point in time, I was just not quite there yet for doing that level of like frame by frame, but they trusted me anyway. They were awesome. So the way that I got the job was just kind of through email. We had worked on some stuff beforehand on other projects, so they came to me this time around with a very different kind of project. Not very different, but it's definitely different. And I definitely said yes. I frightfully said yes. And yeah, they just helped me with like the spec side of stuff and just the initial production, provided all the creative direction and the deck of like references that they were thinking. And it was just this super fun and cute campfire scene with a man and his dog out in the wilderness, which I just love because I love nature and being outside. I was super excited to get to tackle that, and then to get to sketch out different, I guess, iterations of that scene and sending that over. More feedback and review type of stuff, and then from there illustrating a style frame of like, hey, here's what it would look like as a still. And again, for any motion / just designers out there, style frames super important, especially when planning for motion design, because design comes first. So yeah, I got to illustrate all of that, and then from there it was just animating. As simple as that, I just animated it. Yeah, it was definitely tough, specifically with, I would say specifically with the dog's tail and with the timing of animating the man with the marshmallow being blown out. Yeah, it was tough because I was animating literally in Procreate. This was before Procreate Dreams. So like I've animated in Procreate before, but to do it in this kind of way was definitely more difficult. Trying to animate on twos and when to not do that and all that kind of stuff. I was kind of learning as I was doing it. Again, just super thankful that they had the patience with me and really helped me out with just understanding how this needed to kind of look in the end. So super thankful for them. Definitely a top 5 project just because of what it was, the experience that I gained from it, and it just, I think it looks beautiful, and the fact that it gets to live on their website means a lot, and just getting to have a thumbprint on what people see when they go check out their work means a lot. So yeah, super, super cool. Number two is getting to work with the Phoenix frickin' Suns. Yes, I said it. Yeah, this project literally came from a homie from one of the design communities that I'm a part of, and he, I think, used to work at the Suns as a designer. I can't remember if he was still there or if he had just left by the time that he recommended me for a motion project where it was literally just rehauling the Suns' stadium freaking graphics. Yeah, the stadium motion graphics that are all throughout the interior stadium. Like sweating as I'm talking about it. So yeah, the project was, I think, just for one season, I think, because they change every season. Oh my god. That season's motion graphics for, the Suns wins, any segment that they kind of had in between, like halftime, stuff like that, introducing like their mascot, the gorilla, that would come out and do stuff, and like the dancers coming out and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, this project came through literally a friend / connection, which again, harping my point of how important your network is because they can get you jobs. So super thankful for him. Julian, if you're out there and you're listening, thank you so much. So yeah, I can't really remember the details of like the creative brief for this project. I think it was just a let's make a really dope look for the Suns this year, and kind of following, they gave me their brand guidelines and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it was kind of a loose brief in terms of like what it needed to look like and what it kind of needed to convey, other than just like get players and the audience hyped up. I think with this, I initially proposed some style frames and some like initial looks for like for animation for like the main like Suns win, which I thought was really cool. It didn't end up getting used for what we did with the rest of the stuff. I think we went with more of like a typographical and typography kind of treatment for a lot of stuff, and did a more grungier and like textural kind of approach. I think kind of going along with some of the retro like uniform brand guidelines stuff that they had. So yeah, it was overall super fun. I would have approached it a lot differently if I had the chance again. I think the biggest learning curve for this one was like getting to see what an After Effects template looked like that had addressed all of these different specs for the banner, for the main freaking like Megatron up at the top of the ceiling, and like all the other little screens that are part of the back hallways and around the floor and stuff like that. So that was really cool to get to understand where everything was going to live. And then we actually got to see it too. I think it was around Thanksgiving where my brother had come out to visit Justin and I in Phoenix, and we were just kind of showing him around, and we took him downtown. We were going to go to Pizzeria Bianca, which was one of our favorite spots. So yeah, we were just like walking around, and my brother didn't know that we had actual tickets to go to this game, which I think it was Suns versus Lakers that night, which is really cool, and was super thankful that working with the Suns, they gave us tickets. They gave us like a free game essentially for the work that I got to provide and everything. And so we're just kind of like walking around downtown, and then all of a sudden we end up at the freaking stadium, and my brother's so confused and just like, why are we here? Like, what are all these like in the sea of people like flocking toward the stadium? And we're like, oh yeah, we're gonna go catch a game real quick. And I don't think he knew either yet about the graphics that I got to do, so he was also surprised. And so the three of us got to witness all of those graphics used up close and in person. And man, definitely very different seeing that in person versus all of that on a little itty bitty screen. Massively different. So that was another learning curve too. That was just really cool to see how that got to translate from like a screen to literally stadium graphics. But yeah, in terms of like the project itself, I'm super proud of it, and just super proud that I was again trusted to do something like this. There's a lot of things I would have done differently and would have done better looking back at it, but getting to have my hands on this and have kind of some different approaches for each of the asks and like the animations that were needed for this project was just super fun to experiment with, and learned a lot along the way. And getting to work with a different set of like brand guidelines and bringing that to motion in some way was just a super great exercise. And again, it was just super fun to like kind of put my little bit of like personal taste in there, a little bit of a thumbprint. So yeah, just overall, like all of these, a great learning experience, and just super thankful to have had the opportunity. But yeah, definitely top 5. Need to get that on the website as well, so be patient with me. And then for the amazing number 1, I think it goes without saying, number 1, I say project, but it's really culmination of like a million projects that I've probably done at this point. Is working for Riot Games, by far and away. Like I said, being a warrior / contractor / like permalancer with them has just been such an amazing opportunity. Getting to be invited into this world of gaming and entertainment is something that I've just always wanted. Never knew how to quite get into it. It was kind of, I feel like it was just kind of like a golden ticket opportunity to get into the weeds and to really see these things that I've seen for so long and been a part of for so long and grown up with like video games in general, and what I do professionally, which is like illustration, graphic design, motion, gets to be incorporated into this world, and how I get to contribute to it. So yeah, super sappy way of saying I'm just still in shock and awe that I still get to like do work with them and see them every day and make really, really cool and fun stuff. So funny enough, the way that I got this gig / job / whatever you want to call it, was literally responding to a LinkedIn post on LinkedIn. Not even kidding. Again, miracles do exist on LinkedIn. You have to find the right people and the right posts and the right opportunities to make it happen. But man, this was one that like I couldn't imagine not have like responding to it or just throwing my hat in the ring. It was an art director from Riot Games, essentially asking for a good number of different roles, but one of them being a graphic designer. And I was like, yes, hello, I'm here. There must have been at least 100 replies, if I remember right. At least it felt that way, of people throwing in their name and portfolio and their website and stuff. And I'm just like, man, like already feeling defeated. I know we've all been there. And I was like, you know what, like it literally doesn't hurt anything to just, throw my hat in the ring and just say, hey, I'm Audrey Steeman and here's my portfolio. Thank you. That's literally it. Attached my website and just sent it and just did not think about it again. I literally wanted it to escape from my mind, to evacuate any possible false hope. So yeah, I just avoided thinking about it for a bit. And I think it was later that week, dun, 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 I got an email from, I think it was like a producer coordinator or someone that kind of organizes this kind of stuff, and said that they would like to interview me. And I think it was a couple days later, I had an interview with who my manager is now, Nick, and Julio, who is on the League of Legends side. They interviewed me. I kind of talked about my portfolio and, asked me different kinds of questions and just team related stuff, communication, all the very important things. Talked about kind of my most favorite and least favorite project and why, which I think was a great exercise just to talk about my work in general. I think it's a great exercise in general to talk about your work and how you explain those kind of things to your clients or to other people. So yeah, I thought it went well, and I guess it went well enough to where I think it wasn't until a couple months later when they were able to like finally got a contract signed. And I think it was initially for a 9-month contract. And I think I started in May of 2022. Yes, 2022. And yeah, I started out working kind of in the middle of set 7, which was Dragonlands, which was super cool. Like, it was a great set to kind of be thrown into, because I'd never played TFT and was starting to kind of understand the ecosystem and just kind of like who all these characters were and everything. And then yeah, from there, I mean, I've been a designer on the TFT marketing / publishing team ever since. But my favorite part about anything in the day-to-day kind of stuff was getting to do the branding and logo design, and just kind of the identity work for each set from then on. So me, along with the other designer at that time, and then future designers that were part of the team, we all kind of worked on collaborating with each other on creating different kind of directions for that next set that was going to be worked on much far in advance of the release date. And so we'd kind of like work on our own and find some inspiration and start kind of designing some like samples of things. And later on, we got like the set's name approved. We would start to do logo ideation for that. And a big thing that I learned too in my time with Riot is learning about localization and the importance of those get translated into different languages and kind of using very specifically tailored fonts sometimes, or at least a direction toward a typeface that could easily be adopted or used from different regions to kind of translate in their own way. So that was a very interesting thing that I learned. And just a great thing to learn from then on when considering doing logo stuff, anything related to using text. So yeah, getting to do branding and identity work was never really on my docket as a design student in art school, where I always thought that was kind of just like run-of-the-mill whatever kind of work. Like I want to work with like video games and entertainment and TV and film and that kind of stuff. But they never talked about how design could be integrated into those things. Like I never got to see what examples of that looked like, even though playing video games and stuff and like the marketing side of things, like it's all right there. It's all meant to be player facing. So it was just a great like realization of getting to do that kind of work of like, oh my God, like you mean we get to design the logo for this set that players are going to see? What? And getting to design the like look and feel of everything, just tie everything all together for a whole campaign over months of work. Like it took me a while to register that, and sometimes it still does for me. I have to remember like what we're doing and just how awesome it is. So I think from there was just each set after the next was just a great experience of just learning what kind of deliverables we were making, and just all the considerations from then on when we were doing like the design kit, working with external vendors, and getting to kind of debrief them on the work that we've done and just keeping everything true to the source, which is super cool. Getting to work with motion designers and getting to make creative briefs on, hey, here's how we kind of see this panning out with design, and here's all of the assets that you need, and just, go forth and have fun. And then a really special moment for me was when I talked with my manager, and he essentially asked if I wanted to art lead one of the sets. At this point, I had kind of voiced some heavy interest in eventually wanting to get more into art direction, to get to have more of higher visibility into stuff like that rather than just designing things, just to experience that a little bit. And so him getting to trust me, not just him, but the whole team, and getting to do set 9 was absolutely incredible. Like I can't even put words to it. So set 9 was like my first campaign that I've gotten to really like art direct, and I got to design a lot of it too, but we all had our hands in it, and getting to walking vendors through how to use the design kit, and getting to explain to stakeholders like what the decisions that we made and everything, and just kind of getting to have a little bit of ownership and all of that was just such a great experience. And there's so much I learned and so many things I would have done different, just like with pretty much everything that I do ever. Yeah, I'm just still so thankful that I get to have that big of a thumbprint on that campaign, and the fact that this team had to trust me to do all that means so much. But yeah, from there, the amount of responsibility that I feel like I've been given has just felt so rewarding, and again, I can't say enough that I've just learned so much. Just being a sponge in all of this and getting to make some amazing, really, really fun work, and getting to kind of see how we can push TFT, and just from like a marketing standpoint, and just different stuff that we get to do from here on out. And getting to interact with the team that I have every day has just been such a gift, because you don't get team members like this very often. Like I was like super surprised with just how easy it was to kind of integrate into the team, and just to kind of get to know everyone over time, and just learn what everyone does, and not being afraid to ask questions about anything. So that's always something that I will always praise the TFT team for, and just like Riot is just the that communal aspect and getting to like have fun and play, but everyone is also very hardworking and like very diligent in everything that they do. So yeah, why is it in my top 5? Yeah, it's not a project, it's a culmination of projects and work over time, and growth. That is by far my number one experience as a freelancer slash contractor slash permalancer. And all of that rambling to be said that, you know, if there is a position out there or a company or studio or whatever that you are hell-bent on working for one day or just getting in contact with, again, sometimes all it takes is responding to a LinkedIn post or a Twitter thread or something, and it can send you where you need to go or get you to meet the people you need to meet. So with all this chair swiveling that I've been doing as I'm rambling, I'm so sorry if this made anyone nauseous. Yeah, thank you for bearing with me with talking through my top 5 projects and just my freelancing journey. I want to always document the process for everything, including this, and just what I'm doing, what the hell I'm doing, and like what kind of steps it takes in order to do something. And a lot of times it's more simple than you think. So until next year, I don't know what I'll be doing next year, if it's another video like this or some stats, or whatever, but overall, thanks for everyone that's been a part of the journey so far, and just being in my corner and watching all of this happen before your eyes. But yeah, I'll make sure to do you proud. Do all you guys proud. I don't really have any other closing remarks other than I can't wait to see what happens next, and just what other great work gets to be made, and the people I get to meet, things that I learn, and all that good stuff. So as always, I hope this was helpful or just fun or just weird. I don't know. If you feel like liking and subscribing and all that jazz, I thank you for it. And if you want to check out any of my work, probably won't have most of the projects that I've listed in this video, but we'll still have majority of my work. Feel free to look at the link to that below. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.